Hi, everyone. It's great to have you with us. I'm Becky Schilling, Senior Director of Media Content at eMarketer, and today I'm joined by Erik Gray, Director, Product Analytics at Mountain. Today, we're going to discuss the transformative impact of CTV advertising and the ad-supported streaming landscape. Hey, Erik, it's great to have you here.
Yeah, thank you so much.
To our audience, use the window on the right to chat with your peers. To get you started, how many streaming services do you subscribe to? With that, let's get into it. Erik, over to you.
Oh gosh, I don't even want to think about it. But we'll just jump right in and we can all we can all think about that over the course of this talk. Cool. So today's agenda is the growth of ad-supported streaming and just how that industry is shifting entirely. How to track attribution on connected TV and really dive into the reporting available for connected TV. And then reporting on your efforts within that connected TV world and talk through a little bit of incrementality and the fragmentation effect that is happening on TV as well. And then overall, the CTV halo effect across all of your marketing mix and how TV really boosts your marketing in general. So overall, we've been seeing a shift in the industry in general, and streaming is shifting to ad-supported models, and this has been happening within the past year or so. The main reason for that is offering economic options for the streaming users, so for your consumers. And we've seen Netflix and Disney Plus announcing ad-supported offerings, even Amazon launching Freevee as an additional ad-supported tier, and even making their main ad-supported tier the default for all Prime subscribers. And this elevated the percentage of Prime Video users using an ad tier to about 80%. Or in numerical values, that's about 130 million viewers. So quite a shift in the overall ad-supported appetite by the consumers of these streaming ads. And what we're seeing is consumers and people are pro ads. And I think due to the economic savings, customers are just responding far more positively to the ad supported tiers and are willing to incur the interruption of the ads just in order to save on those subscription costs. This has led to about a 40% increase in viewership of ad supported platforms and about 33% decrease in viewing of ad eliminating subscription based services. And I think a big reason for that is the high value and just really good looking ads being served on these TV platforms. Um, and I think that the early on, the streaming services had to establish a value add with the lack of ads, i.e., Netflix, to really distinguish from linear TV. However, again, the creative quality improvements and the ability to target those ads with great precision are enabling the marketers to reach these consumers that are far more willing to view this high quality relevant ads and save on those streaming costs. So more ads equals more opportunity. This is great for advertisers because obviously we're able to reach a far larger group of individuals and households with these ad supported streaming services. However, with that opportunity means there's a lot of marketing players trying to get a slice of that opportunity as well, creating a fragmentation of the supply of CTV ads. And just as we have seen in traditional digital advertising, the fragmentation creates a headache in determining performance in a useful and incremental fashion, putting lots of weight in the trust of the attribution models across all of your CTV ad buys. And so, really, there's about two options. Number one, eliminate that fragmentation and combine your ad buys with one platform like Mountain. Or number two, create trust and attribution and incrementality across each of those platforms. So for option one, Mountain is set out to eliminate this fragmentation and offer inventory through a single platform, and then also provide a transparent attribution model. And we facilitate this inventory through direct deals with about 150 plus networks, meaning we ensure that you'll get premium inventory on blue chip networks with unskippable living room quality ads. And just to add to that as well, focusing in on the consumers themselves with this larger audience of individuals viewing these ads. We want to put that focus on the targeted audience for our marketers. So Mountain is buying on the audience, not on the programming. So you can reach your target no matter where they like to watch. And that's a big value add to going to a single platform, because the inventory is there and it's just a matter of your facilitation of how you reach your individuals rather than actually reaching those networks themselves. And then for option 2, we're going to get into that in the rest of this chat. So as we all know, attribution equals performance, performance equals return, and return equals budget. So if you can eliminate the duplicative attribution across all of your different fragmented platforms, you're able to boost your inefficiency by about 15 to 30%. And ultimately, if you're reaching the right people across all of those ad buys, again, focusing in on your target audience, you're bound to be reaching the same individuals across each of those fragmented ad buys. And so you'll find that if one of your partners has a shaky attribution model, then it just further confuses the ability to define actual incrementality across each of those ad buys, and specifically that shaky attribution model ad buy as well. And we're finding that still about 77% of marketers feel that they are not using the right attribution modeling, which is problematic because, again, attribution is performance, performance is return, and return is budget. According to recent studies, we found that CTV attribution is still the #1 area that marketers want to see improvement. So across all of the different platforms, they still are trying to understand how TV can be a part of their media mix and how they can align the attribution model of, let's say, a digital or a walled garden to the CTV world. And ultimately, this stems from the disconnect of the device that actually views the ad, or where you actually view the ad, and the device that you're actually visiting the site on or converting on ultimately at the end. And this mainly becomes a bigger problem if you focused your TV inventory on living room quality or CTV inventory. If you're serving on the devices through the streaming platforms, that will obviously be on the same device that they could convert on, and that is just a different ball game. So the big thing being that we are creating this relationship of devices by households, or the ownership of those devices by an individual, and relying on that cross-device technology to establish attribution. So Mountain wanted to create a transparent and real-life way to determine performance for CTV ad buys. So we created verified visits to capture the visits to a website after a consumer watches the entire TV commercial. I want to explain that really quick here. So the way that it works is a user will see a TV commercial on their CTV device or on their smart TV, whatever, and then they will visit your website on a device that isn't the device that they saw the TV ad on. So typically on a phone, a tablet, a computer, and we will track that event. But we will only track that event if it's within a certain time frame that you define as a marketer. So if you decide to set it to 1 day or 7 days or 3 days, whatever you want to set it to, it's from that time of impression to the time of visit that will define that we will fire off a verified visit event. And then the beauty of that verified visit event is we will not only track it internally and use that in our conversion attribution modeling, we will also send those visits off to GA4 to hopefully get tracked as session events. And then also we have integrations with companies like Rockerbox that accept our webhook functionality, where they can actually track those verified visit events in real time and use those in their own attribution modeling. And then the last thing that we do is we also offer a custom webhook where you can do that to any of either your BI tools or your third-party tooling, or just use our API and retrieve the summarized data yourself. So that creates, and the big reason that I highlight that we're passing that data externally is, again, going back to elevating TV inventory and elevating TV performance to being on the same playing field as all of your other digital marketing support as well. So we were pushing to have all CTV partners to support this level of attribution for their customers and really moving the industry in that direction so that tracking isn't so abstract for TV. And just because it's TV doesn't mean that it's not a digital medium. The same tracking that is available in display, walled garden, etc., advertising is still available here. And we don't want people to be telling you otherwise. This is not linear. We're in the digital world. So you are able to get attributed performance defined for CTV advertising, and you should be able to evaluate CTV alongside your other digital advertising efforts in your attribution and incrementality platforms. And again, this is the main departure from linear TV, and probably a reason why you're listening to me today, because you're interested in CTV advertising and the trackability of that advertising medium. Another quick thing that I want to talk about as well, going back to the concept of Mountain is focused in on targeting the audience that you are interested in, not the network. So if you're doing direct buys with networks, obviously you're getting that reporting back from that direct buy. But if you're using a DSP, we are pushing that you should be asking for TV network reporting, because TV ads are run on TV networks, not domains and not just on devices, but actual TV networks. So you should be able to see what networks your ads are being served on. And this is so important for your own brand safety and assuring that you're only running on TV networks that align with your brand. But if you're focused, like Mountain is, on serving to your audiences rather than just the TV network or the TV network, you will be reaching the users where they are watching TV. And that's really important from the perspective of making sure you're touching the users that could be or are already interested in your brand. And so I want to talk about the halo effect that TV is also providing to other platforms. In a scenario, I bet every one of us is guilty of this situation where you're watching TV on a 65-inch TV only to be looking at your 7-inch phone screen and scrolling Instagram or shopping or whatever. But what we found is connected TV actually enhances the experience with your brand in those situations. Because when you think about it, as you're scrolling through Instagram or you're scrolling through a blog or shopping, you're able to just blow right past all of the advertisements that are being served to you. Versus in a CTV environment, on a TV ad, typically it's a 30-second spot with audio, with obviously it's on your 65-inch TV. So it's a highly compelling ad unit that looks great and kind of lights up the room in a way. This is encouraging the consumer in that moment to navigate away from Instagram, navigate away from shopping, and go to your brand, kind of as a reminder or as a first touch for that consumer. And so in that experience, again, though, that user was on Instagram and probably saw an ad on Instagram. And so in a last touch model, Instagram in the display world might get the last touch credit, but TV is providing this push up of performance across all of your marketing, and mainly because of the quality of the inventory and the quality of the ad unit actually being served. So really quick, we actually did some data analysis on this from our internal data sets that we have available. And some quick data points are 49% longer average session duration with CTV versus paid social, 9% stronger conversion rates for paid social after adding Mountain, 19% longer average session duration with CTV versus paid search, and 22% stronger conversion rate for paid search after adding Mountain. So again, we are obviously pushing our own performance and trying to explain that through our transparent attribution model and our incrementality support. But we are also highlighting that we are supporting the greater marketing mix that you have for your brand because of the quality of that inventory. So today's key takeaways are ad-supported streaming is going to keep growing. As more channels introduce ad-supported options, this will mean more opportunity for advertisers looking to reach their target audience. And while previously a challenge, CTV attribution and reporting are transparent with platforms like Mountain, making it easy for advertisers to know who's seeing their ads and what action they're taking afterwards. And then adding CTV to a performance strategy creates a halo effect that can boost the results of other channels like paid search and social. Pass it back to you, Becky.
Thank you, Erik. I want to dig in on a couple of areas that you mentioned. The first is incrementality. Can you elaborate on that? And to start, can you define incrementality for us?
Yeah, great question. And absolutely. So incrementality is a big focus at Mountain. And the way that we look at it is basically what would have happened if Mountain didn't serve an ad to an individual. And that's really important to find out when you're, especially when you're in a fragmented world where you're serving on not only multiple CTV platforms, but you're also serving on other mediums as well. So you need to find out, is Mountain driving value to your overall media mix, overall media modeling and overall media mix that you're serving as your marketing plan? And that's huge for a lot of our customers. And something that we wanted to really hone in on was the fact that incrementality can be expensive to run. It's hard to set up. It's expensive to run. And the reporting is oftentimes quite confusing and just not as clear as it could be. And so we wanted to give an approach where it's just an always on approach where every single month you're getting incrementality data in your platform, and you can review that data and define how you want to adjust your Mountain budgets accordingly, or even adjust your other platform budgets as well. And so this has provided a really great conversation starter for a lot of our partners, just to really define what they see as performance for Mountain and do it in a data-driven way.
And then the second area I want to hit on is fragmentation. You mentioned there's increasing fragmentation in CTV. Can you go a little bit deeper into that and how it's impacting consumers and advertisers?
Absolutely. I think the most real world example of all this is I myself, I think I am a subscriber of like 4, maybe 5 subscriptions right now, mainly to try and get away from linear TV and not pay more money for just that one linear TV subscription versus these other ones. But it's getting to be a headache where you're just constantly switching back and forth. And now there's not only with these 4 different platforms I'm using, I also have to choose, do I want ads? Do I not want ads? And it's just getting expensive, confusing. So as a consumer, we're craving for kind of a aggregation of content in general, so you can just view from one streaming service or one level of a streaming service as well. But from the marketing perspective, it's even more fragmented because within each of those streaming services, the networks themselves that are partnered with those streaming services are creating direct buys or selling to different DSPs. And so you as a marketer have to go to each of these different locations or companies and create these relationships. And that can just be exhausting from a biz dev perspective, but then also exhausting from how do you quantify, again, going back to incrementality, how do you quantify each of these different buys in a fair way, in an equal way, so that you're making the right decision on where to serve your ads. And then the last piece I'll bring up is, again, Mountain is very focused on the audience and who you're reaching, not necessarily the networks you're reaching. And if you have all these fragmented buys across all these different networks or streaming services or platforms or whatever, odds are is you're reaching the same individuals across all of these different platforms, instead of optimizing your spend on where those individuals are going or trying to reach new individuals and wherever they end up going. So we really put a focus on audience rather than the network, kind of flipping the script on how traditional TV was bought, where you're buying on the network hoping to reach your users. We are buying on the users knowing that they're going to go to the networks they're going to go to. So overall, we're just really trying to find a way to alleviate that fragmentation as much as possible from the marketing perspective. And potentially that might shift into the consumer world as well, where maybe one day I'll have one streaming service and it'll all be aggregated together. I doubt that'll happen for quite a few years, but a guy can dream. So from a marketing perspective, though, we can at least control what we're able to control from the perspective of aggregating all that inventory and focusing on what really matters, which is that audience.
Audience first. I love it. And I'm sure everyone is counting in their head how many different platforms they have.
Exactly.
Erik, thank you again for joining us for this great content. We really appreciate it. Back over to you, Susie and Jeremy.